Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back. It is Steve, and I'm going to do a quick Spider-Man No Way Home spoiler, I guess, review. This isn't going to be like your regular spoiler review, like some of those professional sites. I saw the movie last night, and I have no one else that I know that I could talk about it to yet. So I just want to kind of like speak into the void. Like, I just want to talk about it. And hopefully some people find the tag and they come in because I feel like answering questions and asking questions and seeing what people think. So I'm just gonna quickly like go through the movie, what I thought of it, and then some specific like plot points that I want to talk about. Nothing crazy. So let's see. What did I think of the movie? All in all, I thought it was great. I really enjoyed it. It's probably, I would say, my favorite of the Homecoming trilogy, even though I liked all of them. I have no complaints with this trilogy because I don't haven't read the comics. Like I know everyone knows Spider-Man's story, but the big thing on social media, like Twitter and comic book people, is they complain and pit all these Spider-Men against each other because some people just really like the comic book version and they don't like when anything is changed. And I really don't care. I just watch these movies for what they are and I enjoy it. Like, I don't care about Mary Jane Watson not being in it. I love Zendaya as MJ. It works. But yeah, pretty much I enjoyed them all. I think I saw the Tobey Maguire movies maybe once or twice. I wasn't really watching comic book movies back then. The Andrew Garfield Amazing Spider-Man, I might have watched those like twice each, but we're talking about No Way Home here, so we'll get into it. The beginning, I really like how it picks up literally from the end of Far From Home, where he gets his identity revealed by J. Jonah Jameson. I thought that was perfect. Um, yeah, I liked how everything from there like affected his life, MJ's life, and Ned's life. Like that makes total sense. It's kind of like discriminatory to be like, okay, you guys know Peter Parker, so like we're not going to let you into MIT just because you know him. But then again, he was a terrorist basically in these three movies. It's true, like everywhere Spider-Man goes something shitty happens, like destruction. He's technically a terrorist, so that made sense. From there, getting into like, I guess when the big reveal with Daredevil, which I'll get into later, I thought that was cool. I like how they didn't spend more time trying to like tell us out of all the lawyers in New York City, why was it Daredevil, Matt Murdock to be his lawyer? I have an answer for that, obviously. I'll go into it a little bit more later. They don't need to spoon feed you that. Like watching the movie, you could think on your own why that would happen. So, he gets in there, Daredevil, Matt Murdock is giving him some advice. I like how he's kind of outed as being a superhero and he just shakes it off like saying he's a really good lawyer. Like that was a really cool piece. And I see how it fits perfectly with Hawkeye. And since that came out 2 days ago, if you're here, you've probably seen that. Matt Murdock in Spider-Man and Kingpin in Hawkeye. I don't think it was a coincidence that they dropped that episode in this movie in the same week. Maybe Matt Murdock shows up next week, but I doubt it. So we get through all of that, and he has the bright idea to, try to help his friends. If no one remembers who he is, his friends could get into MIT, which theoretically, okay, it's like a really heroic thing to do, but he's smart enough. Well, he's a kid, not he. You would normally just want to give the college a call to like plead your case, and Doctor Strange says that it makes sense. But he's in this movie 17 years old. When I was 17 years old, when someone told me no, I was like, shit, that sucks. So yeah, it was like he's trying to solve a problem the only way he knows how. like, just put yourself in his perspective. If you know all these superpower people, you know a wizard, the easiest thing to do is be like, yo, Doctor Strange, can you just make everybody forget who I am? And that's what he did. But it was not a very good decision. And I see actually there is one person here right now, Tough God. He did have a question, so I'll stop right here. What if Doctor Strange casts a spell so that everyone forgets who Mysterio was instead of Peter Parker? That is an interesting take. If he did that, it would be weird. Because something would have, well, actually, that kind of makes sense. They would have known something happened in London, like a terror attack happened in London, but no one would remember who did it. They would only remember Spider-Man being there and saving it, perhaps. Yeah, that kind of makes sense. That actually does. And like, I'm only thinking about this in a couple of seconds. So if anyone could point out a way that it wouldn't work, just write it down in the comments. But yeah, if no one remembered who Mysterio was, that would help. But then I'm thinking somebody has that video of him, that altered video. So even if you forgot who Mysterio was, maybe somebody on his team would have resurfaced the video saying this is what happened. Mysterio was at this person was actually the hero, and he was killed by Spider-Man, who is Peter Parker. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely an option. Is it a plot loophole? See, I don't try to think of these movies as real life, but sometimes you have to think, like, put yourself in Spider-Man, Peter Parker's situation. This happened to you. Probably one of the first things you think about when you're panicking is, the people know I'm Spider-Man. I don't want people to know I'm Spider-Man. So Doctor Strange, please let everyone forget that I'm Spider-Man. Like, I guess logically, it might have been the very first thing he thought of, and that's what he went with. You could probably argue that Doctor Strange could have said, well, why don't we just make no one remember Mysterio? You know, but there's so many what ifs that at every point in a movie, any movie, if you say what if, what if, what if, the movie would never end. That is a good point. So thank you for that question. I'm actually glad someone's watching. So yeah, we get to Matt Murdock, and then the spell goes to shit, and all the villains start coming in, and everyone's seen that in the trailers, so it happens as seen. But I really do like how it kind of worked, where they make you just think that random villains are breaking into the multiverse, like the multiverse is burst wide open. That's what the trailers made us think. So I thought it was kind of cool that they tried to cast a spell where no one remembered him, and it got fucked up. So it brought in only people who know who he is. So that made total sense to me. So Doc Ock comes in first, and it's cool that they kind of let you know what point in their movies they come in at, where they don't like believe that it's true, but then they're like, I was doing this, and I was just about to kill him, and they forget, because according to this version, their future never happened. They, at that point, got sucked into our universe, and they were like, shit, you're right. After all of that, I'm here. That was pretty cool. Let's see, another question. If no one remembers who Mysterio was, even... Oh, you're right. You are right. His team wouldn't either. That would have been the perfect solution then. Yeah. They just would have known something happened in London, that these monsters attacked, and all they would remember is that Spider-Man saved them. Yeah, that's true. They wouldn't remember who Mysterio was. Well, come to think of it, by the time he wanted to cast the spell, the video was out. So he says no one remembers Mysterio. They forget about who Mysterio was. That video is still out. So people could watch the video over and over. They wouldn't know who he was, but it kind of might be like the news is broadcasting new. So like if something comes on the TV today and it's like XYZ just killed 20 people somewhere. So right now we don't know who XYZ is, but then we're getting the information. So even though they would forget who Mysterio was, once they saw the clip again, then they'd be like, oh crap, this guy was there and Spider-Man killed him. But it's it's convoluted a little bit, but it could have helped Spider-Man's case, I guess. But again, it's another good question. So back to my just briefly going through it. I like how the villains were introduced, how Doc Ock was trying to kill him at first. His tentacles were red, so they still were taking over his body. He didn't have control of them. And I guess it fit his character that once he was contained, that he was able to be reasoned with. And then eventually, towards the middle, when he's healed because of his chip and everything is good, he stays a good guy, because I believe in the original movies, he really wasn't a villain. I think, and forgive me, I haven't seen them in so long, but he wanted to do good, but the chip fucked up and made him crazy. So he would have been a good guy if that didn't happen, I suppose. So he was redeemed. How would they get the clip? Oh, the clip would have already been out, because J. Jonah Jameson played the clip and all the news outlets already had it. So they had the clip, they just would have forgot who Mysterio was. So it would have been online. It was probably on YouTube. You wouldn't like search, oh, Mysterio, and find the clip. It would just be like you'd have to stumble upon it. And I'm guessing all the news channels had a clip to play. So it would be like they're telling, oh, we have to play this. You don't know what's on it, but they're going to play it. And that's all I could really think of. Where was I? It was cool when Green Goblin comes in, Dr. Octopus recognizes him and he's like, shit, this guy's here. Jamie Foxx's Electro, I think, had the best redemption. Like, his character was shit in his movie. So I like how they kind of upgraded him. He got sucked in. I don't really need to know how he went from blue to yellow. I don't really care. It's a different reality, a different multiverse. You would, fine, he's changed. And it was for the better, because I do not want to see blue Electro again. That was cool. Sandman was pretty cool. He was in there. I saw somebody didn't understand how he went from wanting to help Peter to being a bad guy. And I thought it was made pretty clear. When he first got there, that character, I guess, is a good guy. So he was helping Peter, and he trusted him until he figured out that at that point, Peter was trying to capture everybody. And he was like, no, like, that's effed up. Like, you're going to kill us. So I could see why he started to, like, not trust him. They really didn't explain how the lizard got there. Like, they didn't show you him getting captured, but he was just captured. That's fine. He ended up in the sewer. They said that. And then who else was there? Then obviously, yeah, last, the Green Goblin. And again, I don't remember the first Tobey Maguire series. I kind of remember he had multiple personalities where he would be, Norman Osborn would be fine, and then bang, he's the Goblin. But someone else also made a good point that his costume was ridiculous, even though it was comic accurate. When he's flying around on his hoverboard with that stupid mask on, like, William Dafoe is terrifying, but when you're watching the movie, he looks like a clown. So I agree with Heroes Reforged. I watched their video, that it was great that he destroyed his helmet, because he's more terrifying without it on. Like, he's nuts. So villains come. Um, I like Peter Parker's flaw that he always wants to help everybody because that's Spider-Man forever and ever. He's a kid. He really doesn't want to kill anybody. Aunt May instilled in him how to save people, and it makes sense for him. Like, you don't want to kill anybody. If someone has a problem, you want to help them. You don't just want to lock them away. You want to help them, fix them, whatever. But it was kind of crazy that he just took all the villains out and brought them to the condominium, where basically that's where all shit like was loose, and the movie kind of like just went to the max. I wouldn't say the beginning of the movie was boring. I don't know what people expect. Like, yeah, it's a comic book movie, but it's not going to be action from like the second the movie turns on. It doesn't mean you have to like the movie, but there has to be dialogue, man. It's kind of like people watching Hawkeye. They'll say an episode was a filler episode just because it was mostly dialogue and moving the story and kind of the character building. Like, you need that. Yeah, do you want to see 2.5 hours of Toby, Andrew, and Tom Holland fighting? That's not a movie. It's a video game. So I did not find the beginning of the movie boring. He brings them to the apartment, tries to fix them. Green Goblin gets into their head and is like, basically, why would we want to go back? We could rule this world. And all hell breaks loose. They demolish the building pretty much, blow up the bottom. Aunt May dies. And this is a big part because everyone wanted to see Uncle Ben, or a flashback of him saying, with great power comes great responsibility. But this here solidifies two things. One, they flipped it, and Aunt May is the Uncle Ben of this story. And two, Uncle Ben did exist because we know that. He did die because they talked about it, but he wasn't killed. They don't need to tell me that or tell us that. It's kind of implied, because if Aunt May's the one who gives him the pep talk, then Uncle Ben never did. So it leads me to believe that Uncle Ben died, but he wasn't murdered. So I'm gonna miss Aunt May and Marissa Tomei. She's great. I know there is a trope of just killing women to motivate the man, and I will not argue with anyone who did not like this. For me personally, I see it just as like any movie gender swap or character swap where Aunt May is the Uncle Ben, and in Peter's story, somebody has to tragically die for him to become Spider-Man or know the path that he needs to be on. And I feel like it fits because every movie that she's been in, you could see how close they are, how much she loves him and cares for him, takes care of him, taught him how to dance, taught him how to tie his tie in the first movie. So yes, it's a woman dying to further a man, but in the arc of the 3 movies, he was the closest to his Aunt May. Like, it was like heartbreaking. And I can understand how that made him turn to like, fuck it, I'm killing everybody. Like, I understand his mindset. Let's see. Okay, just going back to the questions. I want to see William Dafoe as Joker. I've heard a lot of people talk about that on like Twitter and stuff. Fuck, man, William Dafoe that would be nuts. He's a little bit older now, so unless they wanted to CGI to make it like a young Joker, but if they ever did like and forgive me again, I don't read the comics. I've heard that there's like old Batman in the comics, like they do a story where he's older. Like if they did a movie where they have an older Batman, like kind of like Flashpoint, where the movie Michael Keaton's going to be in playing Batman but older. If William Dafoe was the Joker in that, like in he killed him in his universe. So that can't happen. But you know what I'm saying? There was an older Batman, and he's terrifying. Oh my God. Okay. So after Aunt May gets killed, this is where people, unlike me, who have watched Spider-Man since Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, like super Spider-Man fans, from this point on, it was like all for them. And I loved it because I know who they are and it makes sense for the story. But if you're like a super fan, like this would have blew my mind if I was like really, really into it. So there's that whole mirror dimension fight, which I don't need to really go into. It's just a fight for the box, really. And then Doctor Strange gets trapped in it because Spider-Man whips and takes his sling ring and leaves. It's so nuts how when Ned gets it, he accidentally opens a portal. And someone asked me earlier, does that make him a Mary Jane? And when I watch movies like Star Wars, Marvel, superhero stuff, I don't care about someone being a Mary Jane. Like, it doesn't matter to me. If someone comes in and they're super powerful, I don't give a shit. In my head, I'm like, okay, they must have learned something in the past. Like, I don't really care. Whatever. So I was thinking about this. How was he able to do it when Doctor Strange couldn't do it when he first got a sling ring in the Doctor Strange movie? So the way I see it is, sling ring usage is not magic. It is a concentration technique. So you could say that doesn't make sense. But when you think about it, you do not have to cast a spell to use a sling ring. And I think they said it in Doctor Strange that he wasn't concentrating. They always told him, concentrate on where you want to go or something like that. If it was a spell, you would just cast a spell and whatever you wanted would open. So you have to just know what you want, have a clear mind, and concentrate, and you'd be able to use the sling ring. And he opens it a little bit by accident, and they just try again. And it was cool because he basically just said, where is Peter Parker? Like, that's what a kid would say. They all know what portals are. I'm sure Spider-Man, Peter has talked to his friends about it, what happened with Thanos. They know about Doctor Strange. So he opens the portal, and this goes into your question. Don't you think they missed the opportunity for a grand entry? I actually think this was perfect because Tobey and Andrew's Spider-Man got brought into this universe just like the villains did, just at different points or different locations. There would be really no way for them to be introduced to the story, really, unless you want to say, oh, they would have known there's an attack on the bridge. Why didn't they just throw their suit on and go help? Maybe they were brought in later. And this is something I'm also curious about. I'm assuming when he opened the portal, that was a portal to their New York City. And again, I only seen the movie once. I don't think they opened the portal to another dimension to get these guys. So maybe they were brought into this reality a little bit after the villains were. So I kind of like that because, that's what the sling ring does. You concentrate on what you want to see, where you want to go, where you want to be, and it'll help you get there. So, Ned was like, bring me Peter Parker. And there were 3 Peter Parkers there. So it chose those 2. So for me, I kind of like that. After that, they have that cool little talk where they're all talking in the kitchen. You get a little bit of where they've been. The banter between the 3 Spider-Mans was great. That was probably one of the best parts of the last half of the movie because it wasn't just fan service where it's let's get these 3 Spider-Men in there and swing around and fight and they don't talk to each other. It was really cool that they got to talk to each other. So after that, they find this Peter, they bring these 2 Spider-Men. They're talking. He talks to him about how, his aunt just died and she told him a great power. And then, Toby says, finishes a sentence with comes great responsibility. And he's like, how the hell do you know that? And they're like, they could relate because their uncles died. And that was their Spider-Man moment. And then the final battle is the final battle. It was really well done. It was hard to imagine how they would do it with so many characters. But like I said, since they gave it time where even during the battle, they would stop and like strategize together to make it work out. It felt good and worked for me. So I really didn't want to go too in depth. Like, I didn't want to be on this too long, but I think I've been on for what now? 30 minutes. So I want to get to like my bullet points really fast because, like I said, I'm not good at describing a movie. But anyways, that's pretty much how it went, and I did enjoy it. So we talked about Daredevil, and the question I asked before is, how was he the lawyer that just happened to be the one chosen to represent Spider-Man? And that's an easy answer. Since he's already Daredevil, as you saw, because he caught the brick that they threw. So it's implying that he's not only Matt Murdock, he is Daredevil right now. Daredevil's a superhero, and he probably heard, oh, this kid Peter Parker is a superhero. He understands what he does. Daredevil's a vigilante. Daredevil kills people. But he feels he's doing the right thing. I feel like he sees himself in Spider-Man. So he said, this is a enhanced individual superhero. I want to be the one to represent him. So I feel like Matt Murdock sought out Peter Parker, Aunt May, and Happy Hogan. Let's see. I talked about that. Talked about the villains. I talked about Aunt May dying. Man, the ending really got me. Like, you could see how much Peter and MJ, they said it, they loved each other. They were just about to like go to school together, hopefully. That memory wipe thing kills me, man. It's like all these movies we want to see people be happy, and no one could ever be happy. But I do have some ways that he could get Ned and MJ back in his life. Oh, cool. Thanks for the questions, Tough God. I know you were the only one in here, but I really appreciate it. It helped. And thank you for the sub. Yeah, I wrote down some ways that he would be able to get them back in his life. But the one question that I do have, and everyone has, is no one remembers Spider-Man, which is fine. But when Ned goes through his phone, he's going to see pictures of him and like, why is this kid in my phone? I don't think the spell erased anything like in Harry Potter where things just disappear. They just don't remember who he is. So if Ned's scrolling through his phone, like, he'll see pictures of him and Peter. He'll see text messages like, why is Peter Parker in my phone? So that was just, that's something to think about. But this is how he could get people back into his life. I think MJ would be the easiest because MJ remembers she was on a trip, shit went crazy, and Spider-Man saved her. Like, she remembers everything about Spider-Man. So really all Peter has to do, and I don't think this is manipulation. He could just genuinely try to get to know her as a stranger. I'm Peter Parker. Keep going back, getting coffee, ask her out on a date, whatever, over the course of however long it takes, and become friends with her. Now, after a while, he could then say, listen, he could tell her again, I'm Spider-Man. Then she'll just remember, like, you're the one who did all of this for me, like to save me in Europe and stuff like that. And I don't think it would be him like saying, hey, you should like me because I'm Spider-Man. I think he should get to know her, and then hopefully she likes him as Peter, and then he could say, I'm also Spider-Man. Because she definitely remembers being saved by Spider-Man. With Ned, He could like, I don't know how they could get back to being best friends, but if he sees him in the diner, he could just say, "Hi, I'm Peter." They could chat. And then he knows he likes Spider-Man. I mean, he knows he likes Star Wars and nerdy stuff. He knows he's really good with computers and gaming. He could just bring up like the Lego Death Star or something and just get, chat about things that are exciting. And also, Ned knows that he helped Spider-Man. That's the other thing. Ned is still the man in the chair. Like, he doesn't know it's Peter, but he knows he's been helping Spider-Man. So, like, if Tom Holland, Peter Parker wanted to, he could get in his costume, show up at Ned's house. Spider-Man showing up at Ned's would not be crazy because Ned knows Spider-Man. They could talk, and then he could tell Ned, "Look, I'm Peter Parker." And it's like, "Oh, cool." So that's how that could happen. And then, like, if they could become a close-knit group again, hanging out after a while, he could just be like, "Listen, guys, I'm Spider-Man. You know about the Avengers. You know about Thanos. You know about all this shit that could happen. This is what happened." And he could tell them, "You remember when those 5 monsters attacked New York and Spider-Man saved you, etc. Doctor Strange cast a spell and wiped your memory. We've been friends for years." And that's how it could be fixed. Like, I know it would take a while, but I can't have these 3 not being friends. Like, their dynamic in these 3 movies was perfect. Like, I feel like they're friends in real life, and it showed in the movies. Oh, killing me. It's killing me. I need them back as being like best friends. I can't have it. Oh man. So where am I at right now? I'm a little bit over 30 minutes. I know for the most part, for most of you, I've rambled and I'm incoherent. And I'm not a vlogger. I just wanted to like get stuff off of my chest. So again, I thank Tough God for hopping on and asking me a few questions. And again, I thank them for the subscription. And I enjoyed this. So maybe for the next movie, I'll do it again. I'm only at a 250 subs. I really want to get to 1,000 because I enjoy doing lives. I just wish I could get like 5 to 10 people on to watch and go back and forth with questions. But all in all, Spider-Man No Way Home is my favorite Spider-Man movie. It's true what they say. It's basically Spider-Man Endgame. What Avengers Endgame did for all the OG characters to wrap it up. This wraps up the Homecoming trilogy. I feel like now they could do what everyone wants. Friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Now no one knows who he is. Tony Stark is dead. The Avengers, like, if something happens, the Avengers are going to call Spider-Man. They still know who Spider-Man is, so you can't take him out of that that clique. Like, he's always going to be an Avenger. It's just they don't know who Spider-Man is. But now with like kind of them out of the way, maybe his next trilogy will be him doing more by himself with nobody. And then maybe like in 5 years when the next Avengers movie comes out, it's like, we need Spider-Man. And then they bring him back for like a movie with a lot of cameos. And, maybe his next trilogy will just basically be him trying to, get Ned and MJ back and stuff like that. But I kind of feel like he could go to Doctor Strange and ask him to make him, MJ, and Ned remember who he is again. But whatever. And then the post-credit scene, the Venom one was kind of cool. I know people ask, how would Eddie Brock get there if Eddie Brock didn't know who Peter Parker was? And my thought was, the spell did not bring Eddie. The spell brought Venom, because Venom knew who Peter Parker was because of that whole thing that he said about like being around for millions of years, the hive mind. So since Venom was attached to Eddie, Eddie went too. And, then they could just go back to their universe, and a little bit of the symbiote was left on the counter. So that leads me to believe Eddie Brock is back in the Sonyverse. play with Morbius and all of them, and Spider-Man's not going to be there unless somehow he I don't know how, maybe Multiverse of Madness, it fucks up the multiverse again where people just get shot everywhere. But so Venom was in the MCU for a good, what, 2.5 hours total at the bar or on the beach. And then the post-credit scene was not a scene per se, but it was basically like a Multiverse of Madness trailer. And I'm going to save this for people doing trailer reactions, but they freaking looped. I can't believe that the cartoon What If is canon now. And if you saw the movie and you're watching this spoiler review, you saw the tentacle monster, the octopus, which some people say is Shumagorath. Like that was in the first episode of What If, and it was in a couple of other episodes. I think even Doctor Strange eats that character. And then we see evil Doctor Strange from the What If series. So I'm like, this is nuts. And that leads me again to believe that we're going to see Captain Carter in live action, because if they're going to bring in evil Doctor Strange and Shumagorath and shit, that it's going to be crazy. Okay. 36 minutes is enough. If you watch this, I want to thank you so much. Please subscribe. Let me know in the comments if you enjoyed this or if I was rambling and nothing made sense. But if you want to see more, let me know as well. And that's about it. So I hope everyone has a good weekend, and I'll talk to you all soon. Peace, guys.